You asked for more jazz guitar licks, and since your wish is my command, here they are. In this jazz guitar lesson, you'll learn 2-5-1 jazz guitar licks in major, also called bebop lines. I've structured the jazz guitar lines into 5 positions all over the fretboard. I'll be performing each of these licks fast first, then I'll break it all down for you note for note, slow and easy, and then I'll play them each one at slow tempo. All right, I've also made tabs, scale diagrams, and backing tracks, which you can all download from one of the links down below in the description box. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and let's get started. All right, we play over a D minor, G7 altered, could be G7 sharp 9 or flat 9, and C major. That's a 2-5-1 in C major. We start with the D minor chord, and we use the D Dorian scale in this position. All right, here's the chord for it. And I start with a so-called superimposition, and I have a video for that up here somewhere. I'm gonna put a card that leads you there so you understand the concept of superimpositions better. So I'm just gonna talk about it here shortly. I use an F major arpeggio. Here's the F, 8th fret, A, C, E. So that's an F major arpeggio, F major 7. And played over a D minor 7 that gives us a D minor 9 sound, because the E here is the 9th of the D. All right, so we add an extra color tone. Now I go over, pull off to a chromatic tone, to the avoid note of the D Dorian scale, which is the 6th of the D, that's a B. And here we have the typical bebop. Da, 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 bebop. Bebop is now to follow C, D and C. And that's my D minor 9 line. You should learn this one very well because it's a very typical bebop line. Now we go over to the G altered chord. It's altered because it resolves to its one chord, the C. And I start on the 3rd of the G7. Here is the 3rd. Put your middle finger on it, because ring finger would be the natural one, but middle finger is better, because now we go over to the flat 9th of the chord. I pull off to the root. The F is the 7th of the chord. See, it's all chord tones by now, so far. Now the flat 13, that's a part of the altered scale. Back to the 3rd, sharp 9, flat 9. And now we go to the resolution, the 1 chord. So this is the 5th of the C already. So here's the alt line. Right? And always when you learn an alt line, learn the resolution with it, because you're never gonna play an alt line without resolving it. All right, so it's a clever idea to learn its resolution already, so you don't have to think. All right, and now we are in C major, Ionian would be the term for it, and that's the same scale as the D Dorian, but the focus notes are now on the C major chord, or this one, same scale. All right, here's the resolution, and what I do is I play the chord, an arpeggio, C major 7 arpeggio. And I put a triad, a triplet in there. And so this is always a good idea for jazz to improve the phrasing, to make it more, put in a little more excitement. I hammer on this one. E, G, B, that's also an E minor triad, which is part of the C major chord. And here is the 9th again. So it's actually a C major 9 arpeggio or an E minor 7 arpeggio. It's a superimposition again. Check out that video. All right, and here is the entire line at slow tempo for you with the playback. All right, lick number 2 is in what I call the second pattern in D Dorian. We're on the 10th fret. And I play a lot of chromatics here, so this is kind of a really modern bebop lick. I start with the 5th. I always try to start or land on a chord tone. So here's the 5th. Chromatic. This is a scale tone. Chromatic, and this is on count number 3, which is an important count. I'm on the 3rd of the chord. So, and I make a pull off here for the phrasing. 1 and 2 and 3. Then I go and 4 and then I go over to the 5 chord. So what I see in front of me is not only the scale, but also this chord, or let's say this chord here. Can you see that? Yeah. And I start actually here and just go down the chromatics in a way that I try as much as possible to keep the chromatics on the off beats and the scale tones or chord tones on the beats. So this is 1 and is a chromatic, 2 is a scale tone and is a chromatic, 3 is the chord tone even. And here I don't do that anymore. 3 and 4 is a chromatic, but that doesn't matter because I resolve it on the next beat, on the next chord to a chord tone. So that's okay. All right. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Here we are on the 3rd of the G7. That's a chord tone. That's the 5th, the 7th, and the root. So this is just a simple G7 arpeggio. Oh, sorry. The flat 9th, hammered to the sharp 9th, and pulled off to the flat 9th in a triplet. 1 and 2 and triplet, back to the arpeggio, 4 and. Resolution, halftone resolution. Resolutions are the best because that's a smooth voice leading. Now we go a halftone down to the resolution. This is the 3rd of the C major chord, all right? And what I do is I play a superimposition again, E minor 7 chord, E, G, B, D, and that adds up to a C major 9 chord without the root. Who needs the root? What do we pay bass players for anyway? All right, so this is for the C major 7, and I end on count number 2 and 1 and 2 and. And 2 and is the most ending for phrases. 1 and or 2 and. 2 and it happens the most often. All right, here's the entire phrase for you at slow tempo with the playback. 3. We are in our third pattern here. That's the D Dorian scale. And I start on the 4th of the scale. So this is the root. I start on the 4th. Slide from a chromatic into the root. Go via the 9th, which is a beautiful tone. And now I'm to a superimposition again. F major 7. We had that before in a different pattern. Now here's the F major 7 chord. F, A, C, E, and that gives us a D minor 9 chord again. So that was it for the D minor line. And now we go into some kind of a weird G altered line because it's half altered, half non-altered, Mixolydian. And this is from Charlie Parker's Donna Lee. He starts on the F. This is the 7th of the G. Here's the G7 or G altered, G7 flat 9. He starts on the 7th. That's the 11th of the E string. Goes down to the A flat. Those are both chord tones of G7 flat 9. And now the weird thing starts. He goes to the regular 9th, major 9th, to a major 13. And now he starts altering it. Slide over 1 and 2 and 3. We do our slides, hammer, or pulls from offbeat to beats to keep the phrasing intact. And I have a phrasing lesson. I'm gonna put a card on here too as well. Then I bar over the 12th fret of B and G strings. So these are chord tones of the G7 chord. That's the 3rd and that's the root. Little stretch to the 15th fret, and that's the 7th of the chord. Yeah. And now here's the resolution. E, I see my C major chord here, right? And the 14th is the 3rd of the scale of the chord. That's the E and the root. And I like those sixths to end a line. 1 and, but I don't completely end the line. I just put a little pause in. 1 and 2. And then I continue in the C major scale. That's the same as the D Dorian, but different focus tones. The tones are from the C chord now. Pull off from C to B. Now chromatic. Chord tone. Chromatic from below to the target tone. This is my target tone, the 12th. That's the G and that's the 5th of the C chord, right? So I have chromatic from above, scale tone from above, chromatic from below, and the target tone. That's kind of an enclosure, right? And I finish off by the E. That's the 3rd of the chord. So I did some chromatic stuff and ended on chord tones, right? All right, and here's the entire phrase at slow tempo. For lick number 4, we are in pattern number 4, and this would be up here, but I don't want to play up here. It's too high for me, so I transpose it down 1 octave, 12 frets down, I'm here. D minor, 4th pattern. That's D Dorian. All right, so I start on the 5th of the chord. Here is the 5th. and I play a chromatic, make a pull-off, so from the offbeat to the beat you can do a pull-off. 1 and 2. Chord tone again, the F is the third of the chord, to the ninth, that's the ninth, down to the seventh of the chord, I mean, that's the fifth of the fifth fret. And I want to target this B, so I embellish it again. I approach it from above, scale down below, chromatic below, target note. This is the third of the G, right? So. And make the slide here, that's very important. First of all, you're in the correct fingering position, and also the phrasing is and 1. We have legato again. All right, as I said, now we're on the third of G, that's the B, and I play diminished arpeggio. You can play diminished arpeggios from every chord tone of an altered chord, except for the root. So from the third, from the fifth, from the seventh, from the flat ninth. I also, you guessed it, I also have a video for how to use diminished arpeggios over dominant chords, and I'm gonna put a card on it on here for you so you can check it out. Diminished arpeggio consists of only minor thirds. So this is a minor third, this is a minor third, and this is a minor third. And now I pull off to the root and I play the altered scale. So that's the fourth and the fourth of the B and the G string. And then over, that's the flat ninth. And here is the resolution of the C chord already. Right, so here's that altered line. And resolution. Now, as I said in the previous licks, I like sixths, and here is my sixth. It's included in the chord, that's why I like it so much. It's just a reverse third. So fifth and fifth, that's the fifth of the chord and the third of the chord. And now I play around a little of a G triad. I involve this and this. The C major plus the G gives me the ninth again. This is the ninth of the chord. All right, so another superimposition. Back to the C, pull off to the B, to the D again, C, and now I like to end my lines on sixths. This is another sixth, G and E, and I end on this one. That's the third of the C chord. So. That's my C Ionian's line. Here is the entire lick, number 4 at slow tempo. This is the last line. We're in pattern number 4. I start on the B string and I want to focus, here is my D minor chord, I want to focus on that third of the chord. And I embellish it, enclosure is the word I think. So I start here on the 5th, go to the 8th, 7, back to the 5th, and then I land on my target note. Pull off. Then back to the 8th fret, 5th and 8th, that's the arpeggio again. Well, with the 11th in between. This would be the arpeggio. So here's the D minor Dorian line. Now, smooth voice leading, but the fingers are not correct. I need my middle finger now, otherwise this would get tricky. Here is a G7 chord, and this is the third of the G7. So from here to the third, 7th of the E string. Here is that bebop, bebop again. Very typical phrase. The root, so this is just part of the chord. Sharp 9 and flat 9. Down chromatically. So to the 7th of the chord, that's the 6th fret. The flat 13, that's the E flat. And now the resolution appears on the D. And we are on C major chord, and D is not really a part of it. It's the 9th, but the 9th is pretty okay. And I have my 6th here. From the 7th of the G to the 7th of the E string, then I'll land on the chord tone. Right? Resolution. Then I go to the A without a rest, and the G, and that's the chord tone also. That's the 5th of the C major. So I go to the 2 and again, 1 and 2 and that's, like I said before, the most common way to end a phrase. Then I have a little pause, and then I continue by targeting this chord tone, the E, by putting an F in front of it. Chromatically down, D, D flat, C to B. Here's my target. And the G. This is part of the C major 7 arpeggio. So the whole C major thing. Alright, so that was all C Ionian plus a little chromaticism. Let's hear that at slow tempo. As I mentioned before, there's a lot to see on my YouTube channel, from Charlie Parker line, fusion lines, chord melody tunes if you like them, and so on and so forth. Check it all out, and I hope you give my video a fat thumbs up. I see you next week. Servus, Baba.